Hello, my name is Oliver Clarke, and this is a presentation on the Snake River. Before I start this presentation, I would like to inform, Mr. Wismer, the teacher that will be assessing this project. Unfortunately, I am home right now, and I do not have a printed copy of my notes. I do, but it's very fuzzy, so it would be hard to read, so bear with me if I get a little bit stuck sometimes. Thank you for that. And also, my presentation did include many animations, but unfortunately, with recording this, I cannot show that to you, but you will still enjoy this project one way or another. Sit back, enjoy, and we'll see how we go. Thank you. Well, here we have is some background information of the Snake River, but over the course of this project I'll be touching on all this information, so while I'm speaking, if you would like to have a little bit of gaze of the paragraph above, please do so, but just be informed that I will be going over this information. So let's not stuff around, let's get straight into it, shall we? Let's go to the next slide. Now this slide will be talking about the location of the Snake River. Well, first of all, before we get into any of that, the Snake River, where it gets its name from, is actually the appearance of the Snake River and how it is shaped, as in like a snake. Oh, sorry. So that's quite a fundamental thing where it gets its name from. But the Snake River is located in the United States. It runs through many states that includes, bear with me here, I'm not very Canadian and I don't know my states that very well, but Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Wyoming. The Snake River is located in the Pacific Northwest region in the world. So from all this information, you get a pretty good basics of where the Snake River is placed in the world, but that's enough about location. Let's move on to the river system, the next slide. To understand a river to the full extent, you need to understand the river system. The river system may include the tributaries, and the one thing about the Snake River and its tributaries, it has 13 tributaries, 6 on the left and 7 on the right. So if you look down at this picture right here, you can see all these little rivers joining onto the bigger ones right there. So a tributary is mainly the smaller rivers joining onto the bigger ones. That's why they're called tributaries. The length of the Snake River is 1,735 kilometers long. The source / the replenishment of the river comes from the Rocky Mountains, which is placed in the Yellowstone National Park, and it has an elevation of 2,721 meters. So from this knowledge that you've just learnt now about the Snake River, you can understand more about the Snake River and the river system itself. This slide, I've been asked to talk about a feature of the Snake River. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner, I'm just going to touch on this again. The reason why it's called the Snake River is it's shaped as in a snake in how it bends and curves. So this is the perfect example of why the Snake River is called the Snake River itself. By definition, a Miranda is a wide, curving, or bend in a river. The typical location of a Miranda in a river is in the middle or the lower course of the river. Vertical erosion is replaced by lateral erosion, normally with Mirandas, and up here it gives you a good view of a Miranda is. So the water flows down and is flowing fast, and it cuts in actually into the side, right here, into the side of the bank right there, and since it has such great force, it will cut out that part of the river, and it will make the river, the water flow around there, and the same thing will happen here, and then more of the bank will be cut out there. So that's how it actually gets its feature, Miranda in the river, and the change in course of the water, therefore making a Miranda. Here we're talking about the users of the river. This may include a wide bracket of many users, but here are just some of the ones I touched on. The first one is irrigators. The next one can be tourists, then fishermen, wildlife, motorized boaters for sports or so, and farmers. Now, in the bottom left-hand corner here, you can see a photo of a dam, and this is called audio power. And this is one of the uses of the dam to create power, of course, but I would just like to expand on this a little bit more. Now, audio dam or / power is they claim to be they are wanting the Snake River to provide cleaner and more purified water for future generations to come, and they want to improve the overall health of the river. The Snake River, it manages 25 dams, and it has a total the total capacity is approximately 6.8 million hect feet. I'm not really sure of the measurement, but you might have a little bit more knowledge about that, Mr. Wismer. Providing water to 83,000 farmers and more than 30,000 farms. 5 power plants provide 821,000 megawatt hours of electricity to anywhere that is needed. So from this you can actually really understand how much the power plant is benefiting off the river and using the river, but also kind of trying to give back to it because of how much it is using, which is a very thoughtful thing to do. But this is one of the main users of the river and is a little bit more depth about it. Also, another big user group of the river is fishermen. Or whenever you type in the Snake River into the internet, you get bombarded with fishing photos, and there's magnificent and beautiful and massive fish in there to be caught. So it kind of engaged me to research a little bit more, and so I did. And it showed me the wide offers that the Snake River actually gives to tourists, local fishermen, and if you're really kind of really into the sport fishing, you can go on fishing trips, and so that is a big factor of one of the user groups, and it would encourage people to come and use the river much more, and the users of the river would benefit from it. So there was 2 user groups, a little bit more in depth, and it will help you understand them a little bit more. But also the thing that you need to factor in, user groups actually interlock with each other. For example, the ones I've said here, farmers and wildlife, and let's say fishermen. Well, first of all, fishermen and wildlife, the fishermen are hunting the wildlife really. They interlock with each other. And many more can be said about the power plants and farmers. The power plants actually help, as I've said before, in giving more electricity to farmers and trying to provide them with cleaner water. So they all interplay with each other and interlock. So hopefully that widens your knowledge of the users of the river. Let's move on to the next slide. Management of the river. Well, before in the other slide about audio power, I actually talked about how audio power actually gives back to the river, and it actually really helps the management of the river and actually benefits off it. But we need to discuss a little bit more in further detail. Well, first with the management of the river, you need to understand the issues, what actually is the problem and what really kind of needs to happen, and then you need to understand the objectives of like the plans to overcome these issues and make the best of the river and make the best work in the best possible way. The issues. Well, first of all, one of the issues is user conflict, and that can be shown between non-motorized boat users and motorized boat users. That's one of the issues that has been playing up in the management of the Snake River. Also, is the biosphere impact, and these can be signs of litter, human waste, fires, or this can be actually more of an impact to the wildlife or the fishermen, how they impact the river and the wildlife within the river itself. Now, the plan objectives. I've researched across the web about the Snake River and the management of the river and how the plan objectives will have a positive impact on the river. But here are there are 12 main ones that will really stand out and are significant to the river. The first one is to pretty much minimize conflict between user groups. For example, as I said before, motorized boaters and non-motorized boaters. Also is to improving security, natural security of the river with wildlife, and so there's no threat to the river itself over the years. and to maintain a positive relationship with private land owners of the river, so they may work well with the government and help push the river in a more positive way and make it go in the best possible way to benefit the river itself. The thing that I have said so far is not the overall plan and not every single plan objective that I have mentioned, but for the ones I have mentioned, I do agree with everything that I have said. But the main thing that I did see, and one thing I disagree with the management of the river and their plan objectives towards it, I think they should stop caring about the landowners and what they think of it. Because if you want the river to benefit in the best way possible, you should cut down everything that's affecting it in a negative way and really boost it in a positive way to the fullest. And then when it starts in the incline for improvement and it's reached one of the best shapes it has been in many years, that's when you start opening it back open to the public and start giving them the access they want and they have always have. So that's the way that I see would be a very good way to help the management of the river. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, in this slide, we'll be talking about conflicts over the use of the river. Now, in many rivers, there's not many conflicts, but there's one that always has stand out in every probably river that you've been to, and that's motorized boaters against non-motorized boaters. And to understand this conflict, you need to be thinking about their points of view. So, from motorized boaters, well, of course, you have a motorized boat, you get from point A to point B very fast. You might have a water ski on the back, and it's loads of fun, and you might love it. And fishermen, the Snake River is very well known for its fishing trips. So really, it's a very good positive thing towards the users of the river, but it's very negative towards the river as well with the pollution. So that's moving on to the non-motorized boaters side point of view of the river itself. So they're more environment friendly, and they're really concerned about the environment. And it's always good fun to get out the canoe and paddle along the river. But the really negative part of the non-motorized boaters of the river is you can't get to point A to point B if you want fast at all if you want to be using it. So there's pretty much the conflict and the 2 points of views. My way to actually solve this conflict is to actually stop the motorized boaters from actually being used so far, because as I said, I want the river to become the best it can possibly be, and that's really cutting down all the human impact and that they put on it. So until that the river is improved, and it's probably in the best state it ever has been in many years, that's when I would start allowed motorized boaters to start using it. Of course, there's going to be much uproar and hatred towards my decision for that, but it would really benefit the river, and that's what we're looking for, and that's the most important thing that you do have to consider here. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, here is sustainability, and this is a massive factor of anything that you really have ever dealt with before in your life. And towards sustainability of the Snake River, you need to understand the word sustainability itself. So, the definition of sustainability could be defined as the ability to maintain itself. It talks about what we need to live now and without jeopardizing the potential needs of people in the future and their future generations to come. Here is something that I would just like to show you before I start talking about sustainability and we'll sit back and just watch this for just a sec, okay?
Agri-beef promotes sustainability in all its operations and continues to be on the forefront to reduce its overall carbon footprint.
So there was just a little bit about agri-beef, and it's really that's one of the user groups of the river, and it's really trying to benefit sustainability. And first of all, the one thing that you need to know about beef, it takes up to 100 to 1,000 liters of water to make 1 kilo of meat. And farmers that use the land around it and use the river, they would have to use an enormous amount for just this 1 kilo of meat. And you can imagine how many how many kilos of meat they use. So agri beef has been able to cut down the use of their water, and